So tonight I'm going to just share a bit about gratitude work, particularly um, gratitude journaling. And I've got a few ideas. I've certainly done a little bit of research to see some of the scientific side of things as well, because it felt really important to me to be able to share the positive scientific sides of doing gratitude work. And so, what tends to be most effective for that kind of work, where our options kind of lie, and also just giving you a few ideas as well, because personally, I like to add these sorts of things. I like to have a little bit of ritual around it, as in things like lighting candles and having a few things that I do rather than just sit down, journal, not journal, gratitude write, which is essentially journal writing. Um, and that's it, kind of sit down, write, and get up again. I like to have a little bit more ritual around it, which makes it feel, I suppose, a little bit more special, a little bit more connected, and kind of brings the heart side of it in a bit more, because I think sometimes it can all get a little bit too stuck in the head, and we need to bring that heart side into what we're doing a little bit more as well. So I feel you'll find this helpful, even if you've been doing some gratitude work before now. You might find a few little ideas that you might start to incorporate in, or ways you might tweak what you've done before. So first of all, essentially gratitude work, like I said, is like taking time to think about what it is that we're thankful for in our life. And it is something that is better for us to journal and actually write down rather than just have it all go on in our head, because you will find you get more, believe it or not, health effects and more stress relieving effects and more positive effects by actually taking the time to have a journal, to have pen and paper, and to write these things down rather than just allowing them to play through your mind and taking like 5 minutes just to consider things in your own mind. So I would really encourage you to make sure that you have some kind of journal that you're going to use, or paper and pen that you're going to use to do this sort of work, because you'll find it will really make a difference. But essentially, we are just considering what is it that I'm thankful about at the moment, and just having a little bit of a routine around that, I guess. Being able to incorporate it into our life regularly. Now, there's a lot of talk about needing to do it daily, and daily is really like that ideal thing where we create space for it in our everyday at a particular time of the day every single day. That's really going to be ideal, because that'll really form a great habit and be a really great way to either start or finish your day. But it is not essential to have to do it every day. If that feels like it's a really big thing for you to incorporate in, then you could look to do it a couple of times a week rather than every single day. There is scientific evidence to show that doing it at least 3 times a week is like that really most beneficial time. So don't just do it once a week. Don't just maybe do it at the start or the end of the week, but look at how can I incorporate it into my life at least 3 times in the week if you don't do it daily, or 4 or 5, whatever's going to suit you best. So I would say somewhere between that every day or 3 times a week is going to be that ideal spot for you to find what fits into your life. So this is something I want you to think about. Am I going to incorporate it in the morning, or am I going to incorporate it in the evening? And I've got a few ideas to share with you as to why you would maybe do one over the other, but it will probably more fall for you into when does it suit me best to have. For me, my mornings are very chaotic. A lot of my mornings are, getting my son up for school, getting organised, getting out the door, getting to work myself. So mornings are not my best time to incorporate lots of like ritual and self-care and those sort of things. So evenings tend to be my time that I do more for myself, and I take that bit more time to do things like this. But you have to see what fits better into your life, okay, and work that out for you. Do know that our mind is actually naturally programmed to be in survival mode. And so that means that it is actually naturally, it wants to look for problems. And the only reason it naturally does that and wants to do that is to to try and keep us safe, to try and look after us. That's what it is ultimately trying to do. It wants to find the problems so it can avoid the problems, or it can sort the problems out before they become, something much bigger. So having something like a gratitude routine actually helps us to start to reprogram our mind so that it's not just focused on all the problems in our life. It starts to actually form habits to look for the good, to look for the light, to look for the positives, instead of looking for all the problems. So I think just in general, that is a really great reason to look to have, gratitude work regularly in your life. It's part of that reprogramming your mind, that I'm sure you'll find really beneficial, if nothing else. So I do have some benefits that have actually been shown. I've got research that's been done by Professor Robert Emmons and others, and I've got some dot points that I'm just going to read out from the research as the benefits of doing regular gratitude work. So it improves your sleep quality and it helps better sleep duration. It actually improves our immune function. We are less bothered by aches and pains. It reduces levels of stress and helps to ease symptoms of depression. It can lower blood pressure. It can have us having more of a tendency to exercise more and form more healthier habits. It can actually help to increase our self-esteem. It also helps us be happier for other people's success because we're less about comparing ourselves and more about looking at the positives that we have and celebrating the positives for other people in our lives as well. We tend to be more satisfied in our relationships. And we also have more of a feeling of being connected to the universe as well when we do this work regularly. So aren't these amazing benefits? And like I said, there's a scientific research that's been done to help prove that, these are the benefits of doing gratitude work. So these are great reasons to have a try of this, if nothing else, I believe. So, okay, so I'm going to go through some of the steps that will help to ensure you get the most benefits out of doing gratitude work and to know exactly what you should be doing and incorporating in. So first and foremost, like I said, you need to physically write down the gratitudes that you have. So it's actually best to pick something that you can have handy that you'll kind of see and be reminded in that morning or in that night to remind you, to kind of prompt you to go do the gratitude work. But it actually doesn't matter what kind of book that you use to do your gratitude journaling. It can be as simple as an exercise book you picked up from the supermarket, or this is one of my gratitude journals. It was just, a notebook that I think I picked up from Kmart quite a few years ago now. You can see it's well loved. That meant something to me. So it can be something that's fancy. It can be, there are gratitude journals out there that have got spaces for you to be able to write your gratitudes in and has extra little bits and pieces in it to prompt you for other positive ways and affirmations and positive focuses too, and they are really great. But if you don't already have your hands on one of those and you want to start this tonight or tomorrow, then just grab something like an exercise book or whatever paper and pen makes the most sense for you at the moment, and you can always change down the track in what you are using to write. But it is researched and documented that actually writing it down is more effective than just simply thinking about it. So do consider what you can actually, put it down, pen and paper in. Like I mentioned, we want to be doing it daily, or we want to at least do it 3 times a week. So that's what they found was most effective, a minimum of 3 times a week. So if you decide to do it less than daily, choose the days that you want to do, like add it into your schedule, plan to do it. Be like, okay, my best days is these 3 days, and that's the time, that's when I'm going to do it, and actually schedule it in so that you don't miss out on doing it. You don't forget, especially at the beginning, we're trying to form a habit. So that's where you really want to make sure it's scheduled, make sure it's put somewhere, like written somewhere, or somewhere that will help to prompt you to do it so that you can start to form that habit. And then after so long, it'll become a natural thing for you where you're already reaching for it at that time. So, do make sure that you plan it, schedule it in, make sure you are actively trying to do it. Now we can, like I said, we can incorporate it in the morning or we can incorporate it in our evening. They're usually the best times of day to do it. And there's two main reasons. One, if we do it in the evening, that's when it actually helps us to we kind of process the day, we release anything from the day, we refocus into the positives if we've had not such a great day, and we actually start to release and de-stress and unwind so that we can actually sleep better. And I've read quite a bit of research that shows doing it of an evening really helps with us being able to sleep better. So if you do have troubles with sleeping, you might want to consider particularly trying to slot it into your evening routine. In the morning, it can actually help us to really get focused and start our day off on a positive footing because we're purposely sitting down to focus on, some of the positives that are going on in our life. So essentially, if you're doing it in the morning, you're not kind of looking at the gratitudes from that day because it's the morning, you haven't really experienced much of the day, but you can look at the day that we've already had the previous day and set that up in the morning, looking at your gratitudes that way. So either or, there's positives, whether you put it into your morning or into your evening. Like I said, it's more a matter of what's going to suit your routine better. I did find someone that was talking about the gratitude work as well, who actually carried their gratitude journal with them. They made sure it was a small one, and they would jot stuff down throughout the whole of their day. To me, that seems like a big job. Because I'm so busy, it's not necessarily something that I would probably be consciously reaching for. And I'm not sure how much you could really put the heartfelt side of what I'm going to talk about with your gratitude work into quickly jotting stuff down throughout the day. I think that it would actually be more beneficial to allocate it into that morning or evening rather than jotting stuff down across the whole of the day. But once again, you've got to kind of work with what makes the most sense for you, okay? So I'm not here to tell you exactly how to do it in your life. Kind of take what I have to say, sit with it, and see what you feel is going to work best for you with this. So I'm going to say to you, like I said, don't just write stuff down. So you're essentially going to write a minimum of 3 to 5 things down that you're feeling grateful for. And I really recommend that you start that sentence with I am grateful for and whatever it is, and then add the word because and write why you're grateful for that, because that gets us thinking about it more, about all the reasons why we're grateful for whatever it is. And then once you've done that, we can actually stop and take a moment and really feel that. What does it feel like to be really thankful for that thing, which is helping me in this many ways? If it's, if you're listing off a number of ways, or even one really significant way, what does it feel like for me to be really grateful for that? So don't just sit there writing stuff down. Write one sentence, whatever it is you're grateful for, and then put the pen down, take a moment and really feel that. What does that feel like? Connect back to perhaps, when it was that you experienced that and why you felt really grateful for that occurring. Connect back to that and feel it, because that really makes a difference. Of course, we can do more than 3 to 5 things, but 3 to 5 is a really good place to start. And I find if you just start to try and write too many things, you'll start to kind of churn out stuff that you have already put down previously. And then I find some of that heart feeling might start to come out of, it's not there as much. It kind of can become a little bit more in the head. So I think personally that writing, 3 to 5 things that you feel really grateful for at the moment is really important, rather than big long lists of, every single thing you might be grateful for in your life. Just focus on some of those things that really stood out to you in the last 24 hours, let's say. That's where you'll find that real feeling. And they don't have to be huge. They don't have to be giant things like, I'm really thankful for the roof over my head, which I am, and that is a big thing. But sometimes it'll be really small stuff. Like, I'm so thankful that my husband made me a coffee today when I really needed it. And I think just because he made it for me, it tasted all the more delicious because I didn't have to make it for myself. And he brought it to me at that time where I really could use it. That's still a gratitude. So don't feel like it has to be something really earth shattering. Um, know that the smaller stuff is also significant to us as well. So it'll just be, it doesn't matter, it's not anyone else that's going to read it, it's going to be you that maybe reads back over it, but you're the only one that this has to connect to, that has to make sense to. So don't stress about, what those gratitudes are and what other people might think about what you're writing down. It has nothing to do with other people. It's all about what's connected for you, what you're thankful for, what's made a difference to you. Okay. Um, I've just jotted down here for myself. So you're just saying some of the things you might be grateful for. If you struggle at first, which we do sometimes because we're so programmed into that problem seeking, sometimes we can have trouble in, what am I grateful for? What am I truly grateful for? Especially if we're having challenging times at the moment. So it might be looking at, well, what are some of the essentials that are in my life at present that I am grateful for? It might be that you do some of these. I'm grateful for running water. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for some of the big things, the food in the cupboard, those sorts of things that you might be grateful for. Might be that there's relationships that are in your life that you're really grateful for. It doesn't just have to be your partner if you've got a partner. It might be that there's friendships that you're really grateful for, or neighbours that have checked in on you that you're really grateful for, or whoever it happens to be. There might be relationships there that you really want to stop and be thankful for, certain aspects of those relationships that have helped you in some way, or built you up, or reassured you, or whatever it happens to be. It might be something that's around your home that you're really grateful for. It could be material items, like I love my crystals and I'm so grateful for my crystals. It could be a service that you're aware of and you utilize, like maybe something like the library or something like that. So, these are some of those areas that you could consider if you're getting a bit stuck with how to get started. And I tend to find once you get started, and especially after, you've done it for a few days, you tend to start to create a momentum. And one of the things I love about gratitude work is because we know we're going to do it and we're going to write these things down later, we tend to go through our day looking for certain things, looking for the positives. And that actually helps to change attitudes, it helps to change your mindset. It can change us so significantly in those ways. So it can be such a positive thing to do. Lastly, I just wanted to share a couple of ideas thinking about putting a little bit of ritual around doing this gratitude work. And I was just thinking about if I did it in the morning or if I did it at night, which, like I said, I tend to do mine at night, but I kind of thought about both. So for me, if I did it in the morning, the first thing I'd do is go get my coffee before I went and did it. So it's not like I'm meditating. I'm going to sit down and essentially do some journal writing. And you could extend into some journal writing after you've done your gratitudes if you wanted to, or do some journal writing before you do your gratitude writing. I would do something like light a candle and light some incense, because for me that always creates that more special sacred space. I would do my gratitude statements. And then if it was in the morning, I would probably add, after I've done my 3 to 5 gratitude statements from the day before, I would probably add a question like, what would really help make my day wonderful today? Just to start to really put a more positive spin on that day, because the gratitudes tend to be from the day before, looking back. So this would just be, then I would kind of do a look forward about what would make this day wonderful today. Whether it's something that maybe I could do to help make it wonderful, or, I'm stressing about this particular thing, but my day would be wonderful if it went well in this way. And I would tend to write that down to just help to put some of that positive in. this would be a time where I'd like to do my card of the day. So you could draw a card for the day to get some inspiration or a message. You could pick an affirmation or write an affirmation for the day. That's when you could pick your crystal or a number of crystals. If you're going to carry them for the day, you could intuitively pick those out as well. So that would just be a little bit of ritual that I would do around doing my gratitude journal and that gratitude work. It wouldn't necessarily take a huge amount of time, but it would certainly just make that little morning routine that little bit more special and significant. You could also do things like call your guides and angels in and ask them to be with you and around you across that day, help guide you, bring in healing, bring in protection. So all of those things you could do to help incorporate it into your morning. If you were doing it in the evening, I would still start with getting a beverage. I would get a Milo because I'm a Milo girl. I like to have a Milo before bed. So I would go fetch my Milo rather than a coffee of an evening. I would still light a candle and I would light incense. Or maybe set your diffuser going in the bedroom so that you could put something, some oils on for sleep and stress relief and just to help start to unwind you and get you ready for bed and get you in that kind of nice space that's ready for sleep. I would do my gratitude statements, but you could also add a focus like what was the best thing from today. That could even be a starting point for your gratitudes where, that's a good question to ask. What was the best thing about today? And we'll always find a best thing. Even if we've had a really crappy day, there will be some little light in there if we choose to sit and to focus and look for it. So that could be a question you want to add in as well. And then I would tend to add in, I tend to do a bit of my meditation of an evening. So I would like to do a little bit of meditation as well, perhaps thanking the guides and angels for their guidance across the day, for their protection across the day. You could do a little bit of self-healing, do some Reiki on yourself if that's needed. So you could really make that into a little bit of a longer routine for yourself if you wanted to. You could take the crystals out that you might have carried around for the day. Or if you haven't had a chance to draw a card, you could always draw a card or do a little bit of divination for yourself if that was an appropriate time to do it for yourself as well. So that would just be some ways that you could kind of make it into a little bit of a more significant ritual for yourself. Preferably, obviously, making a little bit of quiet time for us. So it's not necessarily something you want the kids running around, but it is something you could still do if you've still got lots of activity going on in the house and it's like, this is my only time I could do it. You could certainly still do it with all of that activity going on. You might just not move into doing a bit of meditation as part of that. So like I said, just, rearrange it a bit to make it your own and to make it work for you. If none of that extra stuff works and you're like, I've only really got time to add in the gratitude work itself, then that's fine. Just add that in. But just make sure that you're writing it down and that you not only write it, but you stop and you feel it as well, because that'll really make the significance for you. It'll help to make the shift so it's not all up here in the head, that we've got the head and the heart that's working together. So I hope that all really makes sense, guys. Please yell out if you have any questions on any of that I have just gone through, if anything doesn't make sense, or if there's anything else you're thinking that needs to be incorporated but you're not quite sure. Throw me out a question. It's just important that you can make it as simple or as elaborate as you want to. So if you've got the time to spend like a good hour doing your gratitude work and you want to make it, more of a ritual, beautiful. That's a wonderful thing to really incorporate in for yourself. Beautiful. I really felt called to sharing this, particularly because it's something that we can start to do straight away. Like I said, you could decide, I need to do this tonight, and just pull out whatever paper and pen that you already have handy. It could be on loose leaf. You could start on loose leaf if you wanted to. So it's something you could start straight away and you will notice that it's going to start to make a difference quite quickly. uh,